But it's been a wet month, almost 3 degrees above average in the rainfall department. It will not rain tonight, though, for New Year's Eve festivities. And for the day today, it's going to be dry. Temperatures inching into the mid-40s later on this afternoon and overnight tonight with cloud cover coming in. Portland, Vancouver metro area temperature should generally be in the upper 30s tonight, so not quite as cold as where we've been. There is the aforementioned cloud cover starting to work its way in from the south. High, thin cloud cover, but eventually it'll thicken and bring us some rain tomorrow. That system down here off of Southern California right now does promise some rain in the Los Angeles area and for the Rose Parade tomorrow. That rain will push northward as we go into the day on Thursday. So let's walk you through it with Futurecast. Any patchy fog this morning dissipates pretty quickly, but it'll be a race between the fog burning off and the high, thin clouds rolling in over top. So I'm not sure if we're mostly sunny or partly sunny, but we will be dry today. I'll roll the clock into the evening hours. It'll be dry overnight through the stroke of midnight and beyond. But in the wee hours of the morning, that precipitation makes its way into the southern Willamette Valley. And then I'll pause early tomorrow morning. There's enough cold air banked up on the east slopes of the Cascades to give at least the chance for some mixed precipitation, some freezing rain, sleet, or snow in the East Gorge and out across the Columbia Basin early on Thursday morning until the warm air scours out the cold that's been hanging there for the last day or two. The warm air eventually wins out. We'll transition that to rain. Meanwhile, we do have on and off wet weather up and down the I-5 corridor to ring in the new year on Thursday. All right, today at the beach, glorious 54 in Newport, 52 in Astoria with an offshore breeze. The breeze will be noticeable through the west end of the Columbia River Gorge. So from Cascade Locks west towards Lake Corbett, you'll feel that gusty east breeze. Otherwise, a frosty, partly to mostly sunny day for you folks. Increasing high, thin clouds this afternoon in the valley. After a frosty start, we get into the mid-40s in Salem. Same story as we go up the I-5 corridor, Longview, Battleground, 47, Vancouver, somewhere between about 48 and 50. And again, that's what I've got us at here in Portland this afternoon. Of course, the sunset inching just a little bit later, 4:37. All right, your 7-day forecast. Again, we will be dry at the stroke of midnight tonight, but the rain comes in tomorrow morning. Increasing in coverage as we roll throughout the day on New Year's Day. 44 tomorrow and on and off wet as we go into the first weekend of 2026. Happy New Year, everyone. Stay safe.
Hello and happy New Year's Eve. I'm meteorologist Christian Maries with your national forecast outlook for today. We are looking at quiet conditions across much of the south. We have a high pressure system situated across the south that's really going to keep conditions clear and chilly for us. However, folks in Southern California and portions of Arizona, they're still dealing with widespread showers from Los Angeles all the way to the Bay Area. And that system is going to continue to bring those showers as we head into this evening. And then for folks off to the northeast, we're likely to see more of those snow showers moving into portions of western PA and portions of western New York, especially as those snow showers move off the Great Lakes. So as we look at our today's forecast, high temps topping out in the mid-30s, especially for New York City, Philadelphia 35, Washington, D.C. at 40 degrees. In Pittsburgh, you're going to see more of those snow showers out towards the west of some of those areas. But across the south, we're still looking at chilly conditions, but sunny skies, highs in the 50s for today. And then 60 in Jackson, Little Rock, 58. Folks out in Florida, they're looking at somewhat chilly conditions across Florida as well. So the cold conditions is reaching as far south as southern Florida and then across Texas. 65 for a high in Houston, San Antonio, 68. So we are off to a pleasant start to our New Year's Eve, especially for this afternoon. And then, like I said before, folks that are in the northern areas likely to see some snow showers from Green Bay to Chicago. Chicago is expecting a high of 36 degrees, 33 in Minneapolis, Bismarck at 22. So folks out in Southern California likely to see more of those snow showers, and then 58 degrees in Las Vegas for this afternoon high. And then for the Pacific Northwest in the 30s and 40s with finally mostly quiet conditions for Washington State into Oregon. So as we ring in 2026 here across the nation, this is looking at the temperatures later on tonight. We are going to be in the 40s across the south. For folks out in the northeast, you're still going to be looking at those snow showers, but as we ring in 2026, likely to be at freezing in New York City. And then across Southern California, you're still also looking at those rain chances that are going to persist through much of the day. So as we look at that travel forecast, as folks travel across the area, area or across the country heading back home, we're still going to be looking at another weak cold front that is going to cause some slightly cooler conditions for the weekend for folks in the south and the southern part of the U.S., but we are still expecting those above average temps for Houston, getting up to 82 degrees and likely to see more of those showers moving through western portions of our area. So the drought report is showing increasing drought conditions. Unfortunately, most of us have been mostly dry this year, and we are seeing those drought conditions becoming a little bit worse for a large portion of the country as we head into 2026, but expecting it to be warmer than normal across Texas and across more portions of the central portions of the U.S. But as we look at that city forecast for today, a rather pleasant outlook for Dallas-Fort Worth getting up to 64, but Seattle topping out at 45.
Hey, I'm meteorologist Brendan Minchef, and we're going to talk about what an atmospheric river is. It's a term you may have heard, you may not be familiar with it, but you may have heard the term Pineapple Express. Not every atmospheric river is a Pineapple Express. However, as we will learn, every Pineapple Express is a type of atmospheric river. So as we look at the map, these are most common along the U.S. West Coast, especially in the wintertime. However, other parts of the United States, including the Gulf Coast and the Northeast, can see atmospheric rivers. And the Gulf of Mexico can act as that moisture source for atmospheric rivers moving up through the southeast and into the northeast. And sometimes you can get a nor'easter that can be attached to an atmospheric river. But let's jump into it. Let's look at the map. Well, when high pressure is sitting off the west coast, what that does is it kind of, for the most part, blocks the moisture from coming in. When high pressure slides a little bit further to the south, and especially when it's coupled with a storm passing through either British Columbia or the Pacific Northwest or even Northern California, what can happen is it can tap in to this atmospheric river. And what that is, it's a narrow band of moisture, about 1,000 miles long or so, and it can pull in a lot of tropical moisture into an area. For instance, this textbook example is showing it impacting California. And when that happens, it can bring a lot of rain. And if it's cold enough or your mountains are high enough, it can bring a lot of snow with it. This type of setup here, where it originates near Hawaii, is a Pineapple Express. Here's some more facts about atmospheric rivers. Atmospheric rivers carry 7.5 to 15 times the flow of the mouth of the Mississippi River. They vary. Some of them are stronger, some of them are weaker, but they are very, very wet systems, and that's why we get a lot of rain from these. And atmospheric river events are responsible for the majority of the water supply on the U.S. West Coast. Here is a satellite image of an atmospheric river. Again, this is a type of atmospheric river that we might call a Pineapple Express. It originates near Hawaii. High pressure sits here, and so it brings this moisture, for instance, here into California. But if your high pressure is a little bit further north, it can bring that moisture up into the Pacific Northwest. Again, this setup here is a Pineapple Express. So to be clear, a Pineapple Express is an atmospheric river that pulls moisture from Hawaii. But not every atmospheric river is a Pineapple Express. This one here, here's another example. You see the atmospheric river extending out from Hawaii, but that moisture is being pushed into the Pacific Northwest and British Columbia. So every Pineapple Express is an atmospheric river, but not every atmospheric river is a Pineapple Express. And we rank atmospheric rivers based on two things: by the amount of water in them and how long that atmospheric river is going to last. So a weak or level 1 atmospheric river is primarily beneficial, not a lot of flood risk, relatively the same for a level 2 moderate atmospheric river. By the time we start talking about a level 3, AR3 on the scale here, that's a stronger atmospheric river. It's both equal parts beneficial and hazardous, but as soon as you start working your way up in strength to category AR category 4, AR category 5 on the scale, well, that means now we're talking about atmospheric rivers that are mostly hazardous or primarily hazardous, meaning they have so much moisture and they're going to last for so long that the flood risk is much higher.